All right, all right. We are back for another episode of Mission for Moolah, Ep.5, Conference Championship Round. These are the last games ahead of the Super Bowl, is what I'm basically saying. And we're gonna come in with our predictions. We went 500 again last week. We got 2 out of the 4 correct on last week, so we're 500 for the postseason so far. We're coming in at a very respectable 5-5. Nothing to brag about, but also we're not on the losing ledger, and we're hoping to go 2-0 this weekend. Yeah, we can do it. And so once again, thank you for joining us here on Mission for Moolah with no cap, no fillers, no chasers, no gimmicks. Just we're going straight to the moolah. Yes, straight to the top. All right, so please, once again, subscribe to our channel here at GAB Sports, as well as like the video. Please take the time to leave a comment, and also follow us on social media at GAB4Young. That's GAB, the number 4, YUUNG. Okay, let's go ahead and get it cracking. Do that. We must introduce ourselves to the audience. For those of you who are new, we have a mission here at GAB Sports, and our mission is bound by our outlook, by what we want to project, by how we want to live. Yes, this encompasses everything that we do here at GAB. So, with that, we always start off by saying we are gentle and blissful, gifted and beautiful, generous and benevolent, and most appreciatively at GAB Sports and at GAB in general, because it transcends sports, transcends anything, any industry. We are most appreciatively grateful and blessed. Guidelines to achieve and build GAB Sports. It's your boy, Yuungmoolahh. As we go ahead and delve into the conference championships, I just want to give my predictions here, and we will have an added bonus for you as we will go ahead and also give you a best ball tape. Yes, the big board is back. The big board. It has arrived. The big board for 2026. Yes, the sickles are at it already. They're trying to draft teams already, and I'm just going to have to jump in as well, right? Because this is what we do. We love best ball. So we're going to jump in that too, but we're going to do a preview of what we're thinking, and I'll just go ahead and save that little bit of tidbit for what it's going to be as we do it, but it'll be after we give the predictions here. We'll jump over into that best ball preview. I have a video where I give some takes on what we're doing, and we'll go into that at that time. All right. So right now, we just want to talk about this weekend. Yeah. Let's not take the shine off of these weekend's games, which will get our Super Bowl matchup, right? So first game, we have the Denver Broncos hosting the New England Patriots, 1 versus 2. And so this game has started off, obviously with some unsettling news for the Denver Broncos, right? Right immediately after the game last week, after they disposed of the Buffalo Bills in overtime, their quarterback was ruled out for the remainder of the playoffs. Their starting quarterback, Bo Nix. And that's going to have a big impact on this game, right? And the New England Patriots on the other side of the bracket were handling business as they just took advantage of plenty of mistakes by that Houston Texans offense, and that enabled them to go ahead and advance and face off in this matchup, 1 versus 2. And so my take on this matchup is that it's going to be a struggle. Yes, both teams have things that they need to work on, right? They got to integrate a new quarterback on the Denver side. And Drake May, yeah, he's been advancing, but it's not due to his stellar play. I mean, he's made some timely plays. I will give him that. He's made some timely plays to come through when he needed to for his team. But overall, his play has been a little spotty, right? To where he's very inconsistent, and he's turning the ball over at an alarming rate as well, so he's going to have to shore those things up. And so when I look at this game, I see a very tightly contested battle of two well-coached teams, and it's going to come down to game planning, right? Because obviously with a new quarterback in play for Denver, they're going to have to run the ball, right? They failed to run the ball very effectively in their first game against a very good matchup to be able to run the ball were the Buffalo Bills, but they did not run the ball very well in that matchup. And they're going to have to change that this week in order to have a chance here. So the New England Patriots are going to need to run the ball. They haven't been that impressive running the ball either this postseason. So both teams are going to need to get more out of their running games in order to keep the defenses honest. And the defenses, that's going to be the story to me of this game. And I think there'll be one defense that makes just one or two more plays than the other. There could be a special teams play that comes into play here, too, a big punt return or a block kick or something. Don't rule out. In fact, it's not that I'm going to rule out. I think that's going to occur. And I can't even tell you which team because this game is so tight. I can't tell you which team is going to get that big special teams play. But it's going to be one of the two teams that's going to get a big special teams play. And my lean on this game might be a little shocking because, yes, we're going with the Denver Broncos with Jarrett Stidham quarterbacking the Denver Broncos, and they're going to get to the Super Bowl. Yes, Jarrett Stidham is going to, I'm not going to say lead because I think he's going to be managed. I think Peyton's going to, pull all the strings, be his puppet master, and he's going to call a great game for Jarrett Stidham. And I look for that defense of the Broncos to make one or two more plays than the Patriots. And so we got the Denver Broncos squeaking by the New England Patriots 20-17 at home, and they're punching their ticket to the Super Bowl. Yes, the narrative is just that they have no chance, right? They got the backup quarterback. When you listen to all the casuals out here, I'm not buying that. I've seen this happen plenty of times where a backup can come in, a Nick Foles, right? A Jeff Hostetler, a Doug Williams came in late in the season, took his team to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl. Things like this doesn't in the hopes of a team who's worked hard to get in this position all season long. You think that defense of the Denver Broncos is ready to give up and say, oh, man, we got no shot? No, they're going to come out fired up saying it's on us to make the plays. And I do believe they'll be able to make enough plays, and Sean Payton will muster up enough offense to where, and hey, he might get a special teams play or whatever. But I think Stidham is a little bit better than what most people believe. He hasn't played in a couple of years. I know that. He doesn't have great stats or great numbers when he has played. But for one game, when there's an unknown like this, where you don't have much film on him, you don't really know what his strengths are. But he can make a few plays. And if that New England team just puts its guard down, even for just a little bit, it's going to come back to bite them. We got the Denver Broncos knocking out the New England Patriots, where I believe Drake May will probably once again have about 2 or 3 turnovers, and that will be enough to tip the scales in the Denver Broncos' favor. You heard it here. We're taking the Broncos. All right. So that's one ticket punched, and we'll go ahead and go over to the second game, which will be the Seattle Seahawks hosting the Los Angeles Rams. We got number 1 versus number 5 here. And the Seattle Seahawks are number 1. They have a coveted bye week, where they got one less game, right, to get that wear and tear, and they look pretty healthy here. Other than Charbonnet being lost for the rest of the playoffs. But Kenneth Walker, wow, he looked pretty spectacular against the 49ers. And he is a very talented guy. This may be his opportunity to really showcase to not only the league or whatever, but to his own team. Hey, man, I could have been doing this all year, right? Because this guy is got some talent, man. I mean, he can make some plays, and he can also handle a pretty big workload. So Kenneth Walker has looked very impressive. And the Rams, the resilient Rams, right? This is not an easy task for the Seattle Seahawks, even though they're hosting this game. The Rams, they've split the series 1-1. Both games were very close. Could have went either way. Either team could be 2-0. Someone is going to win 2 games in this series, and because this is the rubber match, right? They're at 1-1, and Seattle will be hosting 2 of these games. And I think the difference here will come down once again. I called it last week. If you go back, roll the tape, right? We called a special teams play. I said a big special teams play will occur for Seattle. I specifically said that. I mean, I'm going to toot my horn on this one. And wouldn't you know it, to start the game, there was a 95-yard kick return for a touchdown. And the last time these two teams played, Shaheed did the Rams as well. And the Rams special teams has really been faltering. They ended up firing their coach, I believe, after that game. And so I don't think they've shored up those special teams, the Rams. And the Seahawks have a tremendous special teams. And we know that their defense is also very special. And so I think it comes down to the Seattle Seahawks just being a little bit stronger than the Rams as an overall team. Yeah, we know that the Rams have some explosiveness on offense, but that can be neutralized by this very talented defense of the Seahawks. I mean, but we had a close game, and I will not be surprised if the Rams pull this one out as well. Because Darnold, if he turns into a pumpkin late and makes a big mistake, that will turn the tide, but I think they will be able to hold on at home. We have the Seattle Seahawks 26, the Los Angeles Rams 24. Maybe it's a late field goal that takes the Seahawks over the top, or maybe they're just too far behind and the Rams score late, but they don't have enough points to catch up, and then the Seattle just runs the clock out. But I see the Seattle Seahawks holding on, fending off the Los Angeles Rams at home and punching their ticket to the Super Bowl as well. And we're going to have a rematch of Seattle versus Denver. The last time Peyton Manning, or not the last time, but one of the times Peyton Manning made it to the playoffs, made it to the Super Bowl. And we had Seattle winning that game. Their only Super Bowl victory in their franchise's history was that game. And so we look for the Seattle Seahawks to punch their ticket via strong defense, strong running game, great special teams, the same formula, limit Darnold's exposure to having to be the guy. That's their formula, and it's worked so far. I see it working once more as they get the ticket. That's both number 1 seeds in each conference. And so we're going to see if this comes to fruition, how valuable getting that number 1 seed truly is. I mean, it's really invaluable. I mean, you just, that one less game, you got one less thing that can happen, right? You got one less game of wear and tear. You got one less game of, getting screwed by an official. You got one less game of maybe, your quarterback getting knocked out. So that one less game is going to prove vital this season as we got both number 1 seeds advancing. All right. We want to go ahead and invite you all to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Yes, like the video, please, if you like what you're getting here. And also follow us on social media at GAB for Young. It's GAB, the number 4, YUUNG. Okay. And so now we want to shift gears a little bit here. And we're going to go ahead and talk about the big board. Not necessarily just the big board, but just best ball in general. Yeah, pre-draft best ball is here with the launch of the big board. And we're excited, man. The rankings came out. I saw a couple people in their rank doing some rankings reviews and things like that. And hey, man, shout out to the community because everybody's hyping it up already. And I'll be right there with you, right along with you. Jumping in a few drafts here at some point, maybe this weekend, early next week, wherever. But I want to do a little bit of research, a little bit more research. But we're going to jump into a preview where we unveil our top 5 value stacks that we want to target in these pre-draft best ball contests for 2026 at this point in the process. It's very early, right? It's super early. There's no free agency yet. Several teams don't even have a coach. But by the default ADP that I'm seeing, there are some teams I think we can get a jump on the field and starting to load up on some of these teams. And so we're going to go ahead, step on over into that. It's a video I made discussing this. So let's go ahead and check out this video right now. Let's do it, Brutus. All right, we are back for a best ball preview for the 2026 season, and we are excited because the big board is back. Yes, it's very, very early, maybe a little bit too early to go crazy and try to do too many of these drafts. We haven't even hit free agency, so there's a lot of dominoes that need to fall, a lot of dust needs to settle, but we are definitely excited for the release of the rankings and the contests here on Underdog. And yes, we love us some best ball. So we want to jump right into it and bring you our top value stacks, our 5 top value stacks as it stands right now. Yeah, and we are definitely looking for value being the key word here for the best ball pre-draft for 2026. If the drafts I'm going to come in to right now, and I'm not going to do a whole bunch of them. As I said, I'll wait for more information to trickle in as far as like free agency and things like that, coaches being hired, positions being filled as well, and some injury updates. We need a lot of information, but there are some angles I think we can take right now to give us somewhat of an edge. And these are just teams that I'm already going to be high on based on where they're going right now in these early season projections of the ADP. And number 5, we have the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, Lamar is still elite. Don't get it twisted. He's coming in very undervalued, right? Lamar is coming in at an ADP of what, 50? Yeah, we're not going to buy ADPs right now. It has no meaning to me at this point. But just initially looking at this 50, if Lamar's not going in the late third, I don't care who the coordinator is that comes in, even if it's Kingsbury, Lamar's still going to make plays. He's still going to be one of the top playmakers in all of football. And his weapons aren't that expensive as well. So I believe that this will be a team that should exhibit more of an urgency this year, as this window could be closing fast if they don't try to get it done here within the next year or two. And they got a very favorable draw, in my opinion, on the schedule, in that they drew both South divisions, meaning they play the AFC South as well as the NFC South. And I look at these group of teams as being pretty fantasy friendly for opponents. The AFC South obviously has, the Houston Texans top defense, so that's one matchup that you're just not looking forward to. But the rest of the teams, to me, can be had in fantasy. So I'm not expecting the Tennessee Titans to take some dramatic leap in defense, even though they got Salah as their new head coach. There'll be some improvements, but things I don't look for them to just take some leap into the top defensive categories of the NFL. So they got a great schedule draw to me, the Ravens. And yeah, we're going to also list a few offseason needs for some of these teams. So we can just go ahead and just look at that. I got offensive line, wide receiver, edge as their top needs. And yeah, I do look for the Ravens to maybe either make a move for another wide receiver or bring one in the draft, but they do have some pieces already in place. Look for Devontae Walker to possibly get a uptick in usage here moving forward. May even garner a starting spot over a pretty much disappointing Rashad Bateman. Rid of him, but they could maybe involve him in a trade, or they maybe try to go get someone like a AJ Brown or something and bring him over to try to go for this championship. I love their ownership, management. They're not going to stand pat. They're going to do whatever it takes to improve this team here. And they just hired Jesse Minter as the coach, which would probably be an upgrade. They got a new voice who's really strong on the defensive side of the ball. And look for the Baltimore Ravens to be energized. So the Baltimore Ravens coming in as our fifth best value stack in these early best ball contests. Coming in number 4, we have the New Orleans Saints. Yes, the New Orleans Saints. Why? Because Kellen Moore is damn good. Yes, I'm here to tell you. He knows what he's doing on offense, and I think he's able to get the most out of a guy like Shuck, who really came on strong late in the season. He looks a little better than people thought he would. And so I think what they want to do now, just bring on some more weapons, right? Looking at their needs, they definitely have a need on the offensive side of the ball in the playmaking department. There's a big opening in the running back spot as Kamara, is pretty much washed up, I'd have to say. So he's had a great career, but it's the end of the road for Kamara, and I don't think they'll be that interested in bringing back him on some big deal here because they'll just go ahead and move on from him. And none of the younger backs have shown that they're really capable of uh, handling a big workload. So look for them to bring him back on early in this draft, maybe second, third round. And I don't want to guess on that, but they do have a top 10 pick in this draft. And I'm going to hedge here when I'm building these Saints teams. If I am interested in building a Saints team with that top 10 pick, I'm going to hedge that they're going to take Carnell Tate, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, to pair up with a guy like Chris Olave. Chris Olave's ADP is pretty high, late second, early third. I think that's a little rich for Chris Olave, but he did have some pretty nice games when the shuck started to really come on. And so I will not bypass him altogether, right? I'm not going to fade him, but I'm really more interested in the prices of some of the other pieces that they have already in place, including a very undervalued Juwan Johnson. And also, I like that young receiver, Kevin Austin. Yeah, I like that young receiver, Kevin Austin. And I think at his ADP, he's worth a late gamble. He did show some flashes, and he has a pretty decent speed and size as well. So look for this guy to get some playing time. But I do expect them to bring in a receiver first, second round. And we're going to hedge with Carnell Tate. But the New Orleans Saints are coming in as my fourth best value stack heading into this best ball season pre-draft. All right. Coming in, number 3, we have the Cleveland Browns. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Cleveland Browns are my third best value stack for this pre-draft best ball. And why, you say? Well, because there's so much uncertainty. And what does that uncertainty bring? It brings an ultra cheap value on all of their players other than Fannin, who's looking like a stud. And so we love that value and we love the uncertainty. This obviously will not be one of my primary stacks like that I'm really relying on. It'll be like a third secondary type stack, where you got two quarterbacks already, and then you start loading up on some of these pieces. You might have already drafted Fannin, and then so you start loading up on some of these pieces. And what we're going to do, we're going to bet on Shador. Yeah, I know there's a lot of haters out there, and I even have quarterback listed as one of their needs, but it's not a primary need. We got to see what the new coach comes in and does, but at this point, when you're drafting without them having a coach, or even if they hire a coach, I'm going to just bet that they're going to like what they see out of Shador Sanders in his offseason. And so we're going to be getting these players at such a cheap value, and they have plenty of second-year talent. Judkins, he'll be coming off of an injury, and they got Dylan Sampson, and we look for pretty much a superstar trek for Harold Fannin Jr. I mean, this guy is looking great, right? And I think he's on that way, on his way to superstardom. And they also have another guy that I like, an Isaiah Bond, another second-year guy heading into next year to keep an eye on, along with the top second-year guy who will be pulling the trigger, and that will be Shador Sanders. So look for the Cleveland Browns to be a very undervalued stack. Hopefully they can get an offensive guy to come in here, or at least a strong offensive coordinator, a good play caller to come in and right this ship. But the Cleveland Browns, yeah. And remember, they also play that NFC South, AFC South as similar to the Ravens. They're in the same division, right? So they drew the South divisions as well. So Cleveland Browns coming in as my third best value stack for 2026 pre-draft best ball. Coming in number 2, we're gonna roll with the Washington Commanders. Yes, once I saw Jaden Daniels coming in at an ADP of like 75 right off the gate, that's mispriced. Yeah, this guy will bounce back. There may be some people doubting whether he can stay healthy or not. We can't worry about that at this point. We just gotta trust that this organization will start doing the right things. They got rid of Kingsbury. That's one right thing that they did. Kingsbury is not a good fit for Jaden Daniels, in my opinion, and he was kind of hindering them this year, even when they were healthy. I just don't like Kingsbury's offense as it relates to a guy like Jaden Daniels, who can really push the ball up the field. And to me, he was just doing a little bit too much of this checking down and dinking and dunking. And it's a lot to do with the weapons as well. They trying to get these guys who have all this rack and things like that and think that that's going to be their niche, but you're not maximizing the quarterback, who is a stud. So let this guy scan the field, let him make his reads, and he can drill the ball down the field in tight windows. So I look for a bounce back from not only Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin. He maybe has 1-2 more good years, and he really didn't play that much this year, so he didn't really use any of his reserves that he has left in the thing. He didn't really use much of it up. So I look for him to have a big year. He's a pretty young-looking 31-year-old receiver, so I think it'll be a good season for Terry McLaurin as well. And also look for them to bring in a guy like Brandon Ayuk. I'm already reading the tea leaves, right? They have a connection. Jaden Daniels and Brandon Ayuk going back to Arizona State maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I think the fact that Ayuk pretty much forced his way out of San Francisco, I think because he wants to go to a destination that he can control. And so pretty much if he's a free agent or if he's released or whatever, which it looks like, look for the former San Francisco front office guy, Adam Peters, who's now running the show over in Washington, to sign Ayuk and bring him on board. I don't know if Debo's coming back, but Debo to me is not really a big priority. I think if they get Ayuk, and if Ayuk shows anything of what he was showing before he got hurt and before he went on this, you know, kind of tangent, where he's a little bit off track right now. He's maybe going through some mental health issues. But if this guy gets straight, look for Brandon Ayuk to add a lot of playmaking and some much needed talent out on the perimeter for this Washington team. And that will be one of the big reasons why I'm targeting this team, because I'm going to play that angle as well, that they're going to get Ayuk. And so all these guys are relatively cheap based on their upside. And so we're going with our Washington Commanders as our number 2 top value stack for pre-draft best ball. And coming in as our number 1 top value stack for 2026 pre-draft best ball. It wasn't easy. Yeah, and the value as far as draft ADP value is not super great here on this team, but I think there's just going to be such a big difference from this year to next year on how this team operates, that even at some of these elevated prices, which I'm not going to take all of these guys, some guys are a little overvalued, but you'll see that I'm talking about the Los Angeles Chargers. And I think this is a team with the addition of the new offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel, quarterback of Justin Herbert's physical talent. I think you're going to see Mike McDaniel's offense really explode here, because he wasn't really able to push the ball down the field as much as he would have liked in Miami under Tua Tagovailoa. But the young talent that they have on this Chargers team, they got a lot of guys with pretty good speed here. You got have a team that should be healing. There should be a return to health for their offensive line, their 2 tackles, as well as Justin Herbert. All these guys will probably heal over the summer and come back reinvigorated, and that will spur this team to really do a lot of things, right? We got Trey Harris, we got Quentin Johnston, we got Ladd McConkey, who still is a little bit pricey for what he brings to the table, but I don't expect them to bring Keenan Allen back. And then they got KLS as well. So they got a lot of young, fast weapons, and then they got 2 strong backs with a big workhorse guy and Omari and Hampton. If they get all of these guys healthy with that offensive line, look for the Chargers to really bounce back in a very major way. And so we're going with the Los Angeles Chargers as our number 1 top value stack. Add to the excitement of what's going on in the best ball streets, because we are definitely excited, and we're going to go ahead and maybe jump in the draft this weekend. Who knows? And so as we go ahead and move forward, just keep these things in mind. Roll with your boy on some of these, because I'm here to tell you we're going to do some big things in best ball this year. And so I like to be ahead of the pack, doing my research right now. And but yes, please be patient. Not recommend that you just go out and do a ton of drafts without some of the more news trickling in. I mean, it's going to be very speculative at this point. Pre-draft best ball is always somewhat speculative anyway. But this is the time where we do a lot of research on the rookies, and we go ahead and research and look into what some of these offenses will be doing, what their strategies look like, and things like that. And so we want to see some more news filter in, how players are healing, when players are starting to sign. So free agency is going to be big, right? There's going to be a lot of things that happen in this free agency that's going to change the outlook on some of these teams. And so we just wanted to give you a heads up and a preview, and just find a few teams that we can kind of look for value right now, whether it's the ADP value or whether it's the projection that you just have for a team and you still think they're coming in at a decent enough value. These are the 5 that I chose. I mean, there's plenty of other teams also that I am interested in, but the value or the price wasn't as great. But I'm still gonna, of course, load up on some of these guys, namely like the Chicago Bears. I'm definitely interested in them, but their prices are skyrocketing right now, and they'll be very much in demand. To me, there's a little uncertainty on Stafford, whether he will return or not next year. Who knows? And so I'm a little leery of the Rams right now until I kind of see what's going on. Of course, you're going to draft a little bit of Puka, but we'll see how it goes in these drafts. And I will be dropping a draft video where I conduct one of these drafts, and we'll go ahead and check back with you when that occurs within the next couple of weeks. And so we want to sign off here with our top value stacks for pre-draft best ball for 2026. We will go ahead and recap. Coming in at number 5, Baltimore Ravens. Coming in at number 4, we have the New Orleans Saints. Coming in as your third top value stack was the Cleveland Browns. And coming in at number 2, we went with the Washington Commanders. And your number 1 top value stack for pre-draft best ball 2026 is the Los Angeles Chargers. All right, good luck in these streets, and we'll see you in a minute. Peace. Ho, ho, ho. Hey, we got a delayed Christmas present, right? Like about a month after Christmas. We got best ball dropping already. Yeah, and so let's just go ahead and jump in there, but go ahead and do some due diligence. That's what I would recommend. And I'm doing mine right now. And this was just a little preview of what I've deduced so far. And remember, this is all a fluid process, right? Everything's going to kind of evolve and become a little bit more clear. We have to gather more information. But in the meantime, everybody has about the same information. So it's all about how deep you dive into, like the rookies, right? You got to really start, maybe looking at some profiles, going through these team needs, which I had listed some of these team needs. So that's one thing that I like to do is I used to be a big mock drafter where I would just do mock drafts when I was a kid, right? 16, 17 years old. I'm doing the whole first round, mocking it out. This is before the internet and all that. We're just doing it on paper, with a pencil. And so I pride myself in knowing the NFL pretty well as far as what teams need, what teams' philosophies are. And so we need to get some more information for sure, because there's a lot of stuff that's in flux as far as, coaches, things like that being hired, as well as, players on the move, right? So we'll go ahead and sign out right here. And on your way out, once again, feel free to leave a comment, with some of your top teams that you like. Go ahead and feel free to list some of your teams, give some takes on what you believe, how you feel about what I just dropped. And dialogue is great. We love it. Just be respectful, and I will reply, right? And also, like the video, follow us on social media at GAB4Young, and have a blast this weekend watching these games, man. Yeah, we're definitely going to watch intently to see how our predictions come to fruition, if they do or not. Either way, I got no dog in the fight, so just want to see some good competitive games. So it's your boy, Yuungmoolahh, Guidelines to Achieve and Build, GAB Sports, signing out.